Hello everybody, welcome to chapter 4 of our Kachur text. This chapter is going to go slightly more in depth on strategies for getting teachers involved in the walkthrough process. I think it's a good idea that this opens up with a quote from Bob Marzano, as I've said multiple times throughout this course. If you end up taking one of the doctoral courses in our program that really focuses on school reform and school improvement, you're going to see a lot of Marzano in those courses. And Marzano's quote noting that when teachers have an opportunity to observe and interact with their colleagues in a non-evaluative way regarding instruction, everybody wins. This is a big idea, and this is the point of the book, that why I chose it, why we talk about walkthroughs, professional learning communities. Anything related to that really comes from this idea and this quote. My big idea that I keep saying is that if teachers don't like this model, nobody's going to support it. It's not going to work in a school system. It's not going to be effective, and you should give up on the model in the first place. What was presented in this chapter really goes over what worked based on the studies that were in the textbook in ways that teachers were able to get involved in the process. I can't say enough that if the teachers aren't comfortable with it, this will never fly in any district, any organization that you work in. The teachers have to be comfortable first, and if they don't, then and the district goes through with it anyway, you're going to have a massive disconnect and a massive problem between between the teaching staff and your students. So the first strategy that our book suggests really is that teacher leaders are the ones that step up, and this is taking the teacher leader approach. And you've heard me say this throughout the class. If you have somebody who's willing to call themselves a teacher leader and put their neck on the line out to be one, then you have to give them the opportunity to do so. If they're the ones that are showing that they believe in this walkthrough model and it's something that they want in professional development, I don't think they need to be the ones that are doing the walkthroughs. I think the teacher leaders are the ones that have to open up their classrooms and let other people in. Because if they're doing that, then we have a win on every sense of the word from everybody who's involved in the process. Because then they're the ones that are giving up their time, they're opening up their classrooms, and they're letting others see what their classrooms look like in terms of the walkthrough model. I think that's a big idea, and I think that's one of the more effective ways in order to get other teachers involved in the process, and I put it on the teacher leader more than anybody else. So these walkthroughs have to have a clear, definable purpose. If there isn't a purpose with the walkthrough model, it's not going to lead to the school improvement that we're trying to have. And you guys can tell already, I'm in another one of those rooms. It's fairly difficult to record in, so please bear with me if this one doesn't come out as good. Remember, you have the slides to follow along with. That's why I post them. But you have to make sure that the walkthrough is part of continuous school improvement. The expectations have been clearly identified. Everybody knows what's going on, and they're not used as a surprise, and they're not used as an oops. If there's no purpose, teachers will get tired of it, they won't participate in it, and they won't give you the feedback that you need to make it more effective. So if you've learned one thing from me on any classes that I teach and anything that I talk to you all about, it's the fact that anytime that we try to change things in a school or in a school system, it is slow. Change occurs in school very, very, very slow. If you want this process to work, it's going to take at least 2 or 3 years to fully implement, and if you do it properly, by the time it does get implemented, it can and it should be a fine-tuned, well-oiled machine that everybody in the building understands. Everybody knows when there's a walkthrough scheduled, what it's supposed to look like, what's going to come of it, and that's kind of why we're doing it. Introduce it gradually, give the teachers a year to get ready for it, have the teacher leaders open up their classroom first, and after that, that's when you're going to be able to really use this as a part of your improving instruction. So I can't stress enough how important it is to visit other schools to observe how walkthroughs are conducted. This is another idea that I feel like it's not appropriately done when schools are switching to this model. You have to make sure that if this is being effectively done in another district and the other district wants to help you, work with them. See what worked for them, see what didn't work for them, see ways that you can improve your instructional process. Have pilot walkthroughs that everybody can be a part of and use those to determine what the evaluative procedure for the walkthrough is going to look like. If this was a finance course or an organizational theory course, you would hear me repeat the words over and over again, transparency. Everybody that is doing a walkthrough has to understand that the purpose is so transparent. Everybody knows the purpose, everybody knows the protocols, they know what the expectations are, and if they have any questions, they should have at least one person in the building that can be able to tell them exactly what's going to happen and what's going to occur in the walkthrough. And if they don't, this entire procedure is going to go over poorly, and it's going to cause for a lot of stress. There have to be norms. In my vision for this model, the teacher leaders have a good handout that's one page, quick and dirty, says this is what the walkthrough is, this is how long it'll take, that it's not used for evaluation. We've said that again a million times. And if you can get the district to endorse that, it will show that the district has bought into the process as well. So I think that also is a big idea when we're looking at what this process is and what this process stands for. After the walkthrough is over, you want everybody to at least be able to give feedback. You want to support their collegiality and give them a good job for at least participating in it and trying it. But remember the fact that everybody who does the walkthrough is here to learn and grow together while they're doing the procedure and the process. And I think that's important as well. Don't use evaluative language, because if you do, then participants will think this is going to go on my teacher evaluation, and when you have that, you've lost all semblance of trust. If they see the separation, that's what's going to make them understand it better. So make sure that the participants see that there's a separation between what a walkthrough looks like and what the evaluation process looks like. Training, my belief, as I keep saying over and over again, you've noticed this is a lot of repeat on this lecture, training has to come from the teachers themselves who have engaged in the process and not from the building principal. For this to work, teachers need to lead it. If the principal is present and other teachers can see that the principal is supporting the decisions that the teacher is making, that gives it weight and validity as well. But we want the teacher to feel like they have total control and that the principal is really supporting the teacher that's in charge of the proceeding. When you schedule walkthroughs, once again, it's a big review lesson here. Try not to do it during planning time. If you can have teachers get substitutes, it makes them feel like what they're doing with the walkthrough is important because you're giving them a break from their normal day. When you have them doing it during a planning time, they're not going to take it as seriously because you're taking their precious time that they've earned and you're actually violating what may be a teacher contract issue as well. So follow-up discussions, same thing. Has to be done during school time. Don't do it during an in-service day where the teachers are supposed to have clerical time. Make sure that the conversation is focused on school improvement, ways to interact with the teachers that have done the walkthroughs. Don't single out any teachers because you're going to be doing this as a whole building, but make sure that you do it as best as you can, either after or before school, instead of doing it during planning time. But if you can actually do it built in to a common time that everybody has, that's probably the most effective way to do it. So first things first, begin with volunteers, which is strategy number 8. If there are teachers that want to be a part of the process, don't let them do the walkthroughs. Let them be the ones that open up their classrooms. The non-interested teachers of letting people in, those are the ones that you have to have doing the walkthroughs to start out. Let them observe. The walkthrough is the part that that's giving advice and feedback. People don't want to open up their doors. This is white. This is loosely coupled systems in education. Because of that, when we open up our doors and let people in, they're going to feel like they have power. So if we do that to the non-interested people, it gives them power, and then once they're being observed, the power shifts into the hands of the people that are doing the observing. As always, everything we do focuses on student learning. I feel like I could take this exact slide and put it in every single class that I teach. Instead of saying strategy 9, maybe strategy 8 or strategy 1. But the walkthrough focus has to be on ways to improve student learning. I think that's another no-brainer, and I think that's something that has to come up. If the teacher leader can stress this and say this is a student learning procedure and why we're doing it, then everybody understands what the purpose of the walkthrough is, and at least they're more likely to be on the same page as it. Conversations must be non-judgmental. Our authors really like the idea of taking all this data, putting it together in one giant consortium, and with that consortium, that's where you determine what you're going to do, what you're going to do with the data and how you're going to distribute it back. If we put the data to everybody, and the teachers don't single out one teacher, and there's multiple data for multiple teachers and for multiple teachers in the building, it's going to be much better received, because then you feel like your information isn't alone, and that anybody in the building can pick it up as needed. So that's it. I think those are 10 key ideas. The last chapter in the Kachur book really talks about some additional ideas that could be beneficial to you, but I think a lot of these are organizationally specific. I think we've hit with chapter 3 and 4 some of the really big ideas that are important in teacher walkthroughs. If you have any questions, please let me know, and if I can help, I always will be glad to. Have a great day.